Hello, everyone, and welcome to our September 17th meeting of the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Interpreter Licensure Committee. Katie, can we have a roll call, please?
Okay, so attending today's meeting, if we could have everybody mute their audio if they're not speaking. And attending today's meeting, the commissioners are Commissioner Sarah Benton, Commissioner Catherine Zianko, Commissioner P.V. Jantz, and Commissioner Richard Vanover. We also have ACDHH staff, Carmen Green Smith, Victoria Vaughn, Emmett Hassan, and myself, Katie Lopez.
Thank you, Katie. Moving down through the agenda to the chair report, I do not have anything to report, anything new at this time. So we'll move down to the next item, which is the review and approval of the interpreter license applications. We had, if my count is right this time, I have known to be incorrect. We have 35 applications that we are reviewing, okay? By my count of the applications, 28 of them, I just find this so interesting. 28 of them are out-of-state VRI. 7 of them are in-state, and we had 2 that were provisional, which is just wonderful. Always love to see provisionals on there. So that's the count as of now. Before I take a motion to approve the licenses that we're looking at today, I would just like to check with office staff, and this will be a regular part of our conversation moving forward. Are there any license applicants that we need to have a conversation about? Anything that we need to know from your perspective, staff?
This is Victoria. There's 4 applicants that we just want to point out a few details surrounding their applications. The first is Hans Ferguson. His is a renewal application. Mr. Ferguson let us know that he had a DUI in Arizona in around 1992 or 1993. He's unable to find any records of that DUI. If it's classified as a felony, misdemeanor, any records that are associated with that charge he cannot find. So he was unable to provide us that information for his renewal application.
Victoria, could I just ask, when was his initial application approved?
He's had 2 initial applications with us. The most recent one was 2019.
Okay, and so this never came up before on his prior applications?
No, because it appears that he didn't realize that that question applied to him, where it asked if you have a felony, please let us know about it. That did not occur to him to check yes on the previous application.
Okay. Do you want to, should we go through? What is the preference of the group? Would you like to discuss all 4 of them first and then go back and make any determinations on them? Or do you want to do it one by one?
This is Commissioner Jantz. I'm fine with going over them one at a time just to make sure we don't get lost between the 4 of them with the issues, keep things separated and a little bit clearer for us so we know where to move forward.
Okay. Yep, that's fine. That's okay with everyone else. Commissioner Zianko, Commissioner Vanover, you're okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, works for me.
Okay, does staff have a particular recommendation for this? Have we encountered this before?
This is Carmen. Commissioner Jantz, did you have a comment?
No, go ahead.
Commissioners, what we have before us is actually an option. Again, Victoria has explained that the applicant cannot provide any additional information for us, and you have a couple options. You can move it for the full board's consideration, or you can among yourselves look at this application to see if you would like for staff to gather additional information. We do, or to see if we can gather any additional information, but we do have to be mindful as well of any timelines that may expire prior to the full board's next meeting. So you have that option of looking at, again, what the criterion is for approving a license. Do you believe that he has met those parameters? And if so, you would proceed in approving that application. If you believe that he has not met those, you can certainly move it for the board for full discussion.
Commissioners?
This is Commissioner Jantz. My only concern is that we don't want to move forward with the application if we're not sure if there is an actual felony that occurred or if potentially there's a misdemeanor. And then the second point I'd like to make is if there are any potential clients who might be involved in the situation, we want to make sure that that's not going to have any impact on our clients or on their clients as well. So we need to ensure that if there are any clients potentially as a part of this, we want to make sure that we're careful with how we move forward.
Okay, so we need, from my perspective, reviewing this is an almost 30-year-old conviction. And this individual has already been licensed twice by the state. So in the 2 years so far that this person has been licensed, have we had any concerns or complaints about them? And with other candidates for license, if they check yes to the felony box, and it is a 25-year-old conviction, and they provide the information, what's our process at that point?
This is Carmen. Typically what would happen, it would still be up to the determination of the commission to discuss this. Again, beginning with the ILC, what factors should be considered. In the past, when we've had those issues, the individuals would submit the paperwork. And I can recall discussions related to how or if that previous conviction, felony, misdemeanor, how could it potentially impact services at this time? Do you feel that there's no major risk that's posed? Then you would move forward. If you thought there were potential for risk, again, it would move forward to the full board, and you could ask the applicant for additional information. And we have seen some approved that have provided information from the past. And again, the discussion ensued, and there have been situations where licenses were issued, other situations where it moved on for the full board's consideration. So we've seen a variety of things happen. And I saw Victoria's hand.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to add that when we were talking about additional information, the applicant did provide us a background check that a video remote interpreting company completed on him. So he did clear and pass that particular background check. So I needed to give you that information.
This is Commissioner Jantz. I was curious about a background check. And in my eyes, I think that, we know that it's been over 8 years ago, and he did have a previous license that was approved. I have full confidence that Emmett did his homework with the previous license applications, and I'm sure he asked the same questions and it sounds like that nothing new was found along the way and no issues have come up since then. Now, if he passed a background check, I would feel comfortable approving that based on his history. with the specific license. And this is Commissioner Zianko. I agree with that.
Commissioner Vanover, do you have any perspective that you'd like to share?
Only thing I would want to ask Victoria, when was that background check completed? Did it say on there?
Yeah, let me get you the exact date. 1 second.
Can someone repeat what Richard asked? I did not understand with his signs. Can someone repeat what he signed? If you could just repeat that, Richard.
I asked when the background check was completed.
And
This is
we
Commissioner
just,
Zianko. Thank you.
and we just
That's
had
okay.
a great example of why interpreters cannot be expected to testify in court about something they interpreted, because we don't hang on to that information. So that was so beautifully illustrated. I love it when that happens. Okay, sorry.
So the background check was completed November of 2019.
Thank you. That's all I was curious. I'm good with accepting the application too.
Okay, is there anything
This is
else
Commissioner
that staff-
Zianko. I agree.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there anything else that staff would like to add about Hans Ferguson?
Let me make sure. Nope, I think that's it. He gave me a brief statement if you want me to read that about, okay. So my DUI happened in Tucson, Arizona. It was in 1992 or 1993. I pled no contest to it. I cannot find any record of it. I have been informally told that I don't need to include that information on applications, etc., but I do prefer to have disclosure. Thank you for your help and patience in this process. I've been interpreting since late 1990s without any issues related to that DUI. In California, I've even interpreted on military installations as well as state and federal corrections. This issue only popped up when I applied for my Illinois license. And I only needed that license because I was doing remote work that could have occurred in that state. Thank you again for your consideration.
Okay, I'm comfortable with us moving on. So thank you for sharing all that information. Victoria, would you like to move to the next person?
Sure. So our next applicant, her name is Renee Olivier. We completed her application. All the criteria is met. So she does have a complete application. After sending the admin complete application, we did find that her name is listed on the RID certification revocation list. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention that as of today, her name is still listed there as having her certification revoked by RID.
Yeah, so I saw that on the RID website myself, and I was very surprised that she has a valid license at this time, or a valid, her certification is valid, but her certification has been revoked. So I'm personally not comfortable moving forward with her license if her certification is revoked. That's an assurance that we give to the community that the candidates that come forward have been properly screened and vetted, and this candidate obviously is not. So I would open it up to comment from other commissioners.
Gil, you're muted.
The interpreter was muted. I'm sorry. So, there is one thing that I'd like to add. If you recall, the licensure does require criteria, and one of that is RID certification. And if that is revoked, then the license could be revoked at any time. So to me, I see this as a clear determination that we should not pass the licensure if her certification has been revoked. And I think that that is an expectation of licensure. So that means, at least from my view, that they do always have the opportunity of trying to renew their licensure by getting their RID certification back in good standing. Anyone else?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Carmen.
This is Carmen. I do want to add, so if there is a question in the mind of the commissioners, the reason the application is even before you with that as a factor, with the certification expiration as a factor, as an issue, this was not discovered until after the admin complete letter was sent to this particular applicant. The commission maybe about a year ago, learned about RID's revocation list because someone called and inquired about another interpreter's license. So one of the things that the staff has incorporated in some of its other processes is checking that RID license certification revocation list. It was not a part of our process when we do applications. We will be changing that process. So again, this applicant did, at the time that she applied, we believe may have been under the impression that her certification had not been revoked. We have run into some circumstances where individuals' names were on the list and they were not in any way aware that their name was on this list. So again, we will certainly take that into consideration. We will go back to that applicant and we will ask for information because we are in the substantive stage of the process. With your permission, we will go back to that applicant and ask for provision of proof that her certification has not lapsed.
Great. I would appreciate that. I think one of the things that even prior to being involved with the commission or on the ILC, anytime I have been asked as an interpreter in the community about referring other interpreters, I always assure individuals who are not familiar with credentialing that if they hire a person who has a valid license from the state, all of those check marks have been verified. And I think that's something that, I support wholeheartedly, and I value the work that you do to ensure that to the deaf community, to the hearing community, those consumers who are not aware or who don't have all of that information. So it's a vital resource. It's a vital a service that's provided so well by the commission that I appreciate the extra work that you do now to check that list and modifying the process that you've been doing. But I just can't emphasize enough how valuable this is to the community and how critical it is that we catch these types of things. Okay. So we'll hear back about that candidate in the future then. And so the other two, Victoria, thank you.
No problem. The next one is Danielle Cox. Danielle Cox has an initial application on our list today. She previously had a general license with us in 2019. It lapsed because she did not renew within 30 days of the lapse date. So this is why we have her initial application today. And what we have on her application is when her license last year lapsed, she did continue to work for one more day without an Arizona license in a setting that required it according to her application. So we just wanted to let you know that piece of information for her application. And
Have
then,
we, I'm sorry, I was just going to ask. So we have had brought before us as a full commission individuals who have been working without a license and they have been sanctioned. So when we have an individual who has a license and their license is lapsed and they continue to work, do we have precedent on how we have handled this in the past?
Yes, we do. This is Carmen. We just wanted to bring that to your attention. Otherwise, this individual does meet all the criteria to for a license. What would happen should you vote to issue this license? What would happen is a follow-up then takes place afterwards within the complaint process for having worked the 1 day without a license, and it would be later addressed by the board. In the licensing phase of the process, the applicant would be, or the licensee, if you vote so, would be contacted and then later provide information to the full board to explain what happened or be present to answer any questions that the board might have.
This is Commissioner Jans. I have seen this happen once in a while. My view is that the goal is not to be punitive for someone who is trying to get their license. So I don't think that working without a license for just 1 or 2 days is not enough of a reason to turn down their approval for a license if all the other criteria is met. I am comfortable going ahead and approving the license based on this other criteria, but of course, we should follow the complaint process or grievance process by sending a referral, but I don't think that this needs to be turned down because of 1 day. Commissioner Zianko says, I agree. Commissioner Banover said, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's critical that we're consistent, and we have dealt with other licensees in the same situation, and we have gone through the complaint process with them and they have been sanctioned. So yeah, I fully agree with Commissioner Jans that approving the license, but this certainly needs to go through the process.
okay.
Thank you.
And our last one is for applicant Michael Cox. It's the exact same situation. The only difference with his is that he worked 2 days after his license expired.
So if it's all the same to everyone else, it would say we would proceed with the same, okay, or proceed the same way. Thank you. Yeah.
Commissioner Jan says, I agree. Commissioner Zianko says, I agree.
Carmen?
I would like to pose a question to the ILC in regards to the second applicant that we discussed being on the RID revocation list. Once we follow up, if that applicant is able to provide documentation that her name was on that particular list and accurately, we want to make sure that we're within the time frame to within the 90-day window to either issue, deny, or deny an applicant a license. We have had some circumstances in the past where the ILC has given some stipulations for staff that should we find that sufficient proof is provided that the name was there by mistake, most often that's done with a letter from RID, that the licensee or the certifying member that they obtain, would you want us to move forward in presenting that name to our executive director to have license if that criterion is met, if that individual is able to show that their name was on the list inaccurately?
I would be comfortable with that if the proof is there that they were on the list inaccurately. Other commissioners?
This is Commissioner Jans. I would support the commission based on what Commissioner Benton said.
Okay.
Commissioner Zianko said I would agree with that as well. Commissioner Vanover says, yes, I agree.
Okay. Thank you, Carmen. Okay, is there anything else about the list that we have? So then we would be, I would be entertaining a motion to approve 34 names then, instead of 35 names.
This is Commissioner Vanover. I'm going to, we approve Anne Marie Anderson, Kira England, Rebecca Black, Rachel Brickson, Janine Serco, Ann Cook, Michael Cox Jr., Danielle Cox, Kelly De Silva, Lynn Doyle, Diane Dunn, Haley Eister, Hans Ferguson, Haley Friedman, Connor Gillis, Kristen Grace, Amanda Hutta, Melanie James, Gary Kelly, Sue K. Neifel, James McFarland, Lucianne Macero, Alan McCoy, Sherry Murillo, Rhonda Rankin, Libby Reardon, Jennifer Rogers, Kathy Shemash Torsman, Logan Showalter, Ellen Snyder, Heather Terrell, Betty Jenilyn Dallas, Corey Weiss, and Herbert Pye.
Thank you, Commissioner Vanover. Do I have a second for that motion?
This is Commissioner Zianko. I second that. I beat you to it, PV.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the 34 applicants to approve for license, please indicate by raising your hand. All those in favor, all those opposed, that's everybody. Okay, wonderful. Okay, motion is passed. My computer just went to sleep. Okay. Are there any announcements from anyone, any commissioners or any members of the staff?
The only announcement that I have, wonder if any of the committee members may have heard that the BEI test is now available for lease. So we are doing some legwork to find out more information about the BEI being available for lease, and hopeful that we can look at some partnerships and some opportunities to make that testing available here in Arizona. So that eliminates the need for travel and again, gives us another assessment tool for Arizonans that want to become licensed interpreters.
That's wonderful. I would look forward to hearing more about that. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. One of the things that I hope that we can talk about at some point down the road is the NAD test and the validity of having NAD3 still as the criteria, one of the acceptable criteria. But that's me in a dream world and down the road. But anything else for anybody else? Thank you very much for all of the work that you do, all the staff. I'm sorry that Emmett's not here. But please extend our gratitude to him, and Victoria, you guys do an excellent job. We appreciate your diligence. We rely on your diligence. The community relies on it. It's a very important responsibility that you have. So thank you for letting us be part of it. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.